Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to Centurions Review, the punk rock band of wargame review institutions. This is Oil War, American Intervention in the Persian Gulf. I think it was originally in Strategy and Tactics magazine. This looks like this is the folio version of it. I bought a bunch of games from this one guy years back. I haven't had a chance to look through this one yet, so hopefully it's complete. Otherwise, this video will be an embarrassment, but anyhow, it looks like on the folio he cut up the folder so it would fit into this plastic sheet. So anyhow, let's take a look at the back and see what this is about. The time is September 27th, 1979. The three-week-old Arab-Israeli war now appears stalemated on both the Sinai and Syrian fronts, despite the air superiority which the Israelis achieved in the first week of the conflict. The Israeli military advantage is now being threatened by new developments completely beyond Israel's military capacity. Yesterday, the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, initiated a new oil embargo against the United States, West Germany, and other unspecified pro-Israeli industrialized states. This morning, after an all-night session of the National Security Council, President Rockefeller held a press conference during which he called for an immediate end to the oil boycott to be followed by a Middle East summit conference sometime next month. Alright, it says it includes a 17 by 22 inch map, 100 counters, one standard rule folder, an exclusive rule folder, and one set of random number chits. So let's open this up, see what's in here. Alright, let's take a look at the counters first. This looks like it's probably late 1970s, early 80s by this style of counters, but for back then these actually were halfway decent counters. They've got aircraft, armor, infantry units, and so forth, and then they're single-sided, but that's okay. It's a folio game. Folio games are usually less complex. And here it has some chits you can use as randomizers. These you would draw from a cup, so I assume they serve the same purpose as a D10 dice. Hopefully you get the option of using a D10 dice, because I'm not much into drawing random numbers from a cup, but some people like it. Let's take a look at the rules now. Both standard and exclusive included in here, or... Yeah, it looks like it doesn't look like there's a standard and exclusive. Looks like it's just one rule book. That's fine. So it starts with an introduction, then going over the game equipment, what the different counters mean, and a definition of terms. And here's the game equipment inventory. One game map, one folio. Interesting. It doesn't say... I'm trying to figure out why it says on the back of the thing it has an exclusive and standard rules, and this seems to have only one rule book, but this looks complete, so maybe that's an error on their part. Anyhow, let's go to the sequence of play. That's what we're interested in. U.S. player turn, air unit basing, and then air transport, point allocation phase, supply phase, air transport phase, movement phase, air combat phase, and ground combat phase. And then the Arab player turn, air unit basing phase, reinforcement phase, movement phase, air combat phase, and ground combat phase. And then after all that's done, game turn indication, where you turn the game turn marker. And looks like it lasts for 8 turns. So the sequence of play looks really straightforward. And it's just going over in detail how you do movement now. And air transport's included under there. And there's amphibious transport too. And here's air unit basing for that phase. And it's going over zones of control, and the movement effects and combat effects of them, and supply effects. And then going over the combat phase. So it looks like you can have multiple unit and multi-hex combat and air attacks against ground targets. This looks really simple. And here it's going over retreat and advance after ground combat, and then it's going over the supply rules. This is very straightforward. And now it's going over reinforcements. And let's go to the victory conditions. Victory in oil war is dependent upon the capture and control of oil facilities and ports. For the oil facility or port to be controlled, it must be physically occupied by a ground unit in an uncontested zone of control of a friendly ground unit, or it must be in a friendly country with no enemy ground units adjacent. Note that for the purpose of victory conditions, enemy air units do not negate friendly zones of control. In other words, a port or oil facility would not count towards victory condition fulfillment if an enemy air unit were in it, even if it were in a friendly zone of control. Note also that enemy zones of control negate friendly zones of control for victory purposes. Victory conditions for all scenarios same. Alright, American or Iranian victory levels. Decisive victory, control at least 25 oil facilities and 3 ports. Substantive victory, control at least 20 oil facilities and 2 ports. And then marginal victory, control of at least 15 oil facilities and 1 port. Alright, and then for Arab victory, decisive victory, must control 0 to 4 oil facilities or control no ports, regardless of the number of oil facilities under his control. And then a substantive victory, the enemy player controls 5 to 9 oil facilities and 1 or more ports. And then the marginal victory, the enemy player controls 10 to 14 oil facilities. And then here's the scenarios. There's 1, 2, 3 scenarios. That's not bad for such a small game. And it's got some player notes here. Let's take a look at the map. Is this good? Is this dated? I'm just curious if this was the early 80s or what it was. Had to be. Copyright C. Oh, 1975. Actually, this looks really good for 1975. Up here is the US Scenario 3 setup, and then US Scenarios 1 and 2 setup, and this looks like some kind of turn track marker. And then Iranian setup for all scenarios, and Iraqi setup for some of the scenarios 1 and 2. And here we have Iran, Iraq, Kuwait. Down here is Saudi Arabia. And that's the Persian Gulf here, and we got Qatar down here. And up here, we have the combat results table, terrain key. Let's see what this stuff is. And forces in West Germany, forces in Israel, forces in the Gulf of Oman, and here's an air transport point track. Cool. Anyhow, I just wanted to show you guys this. Yeah, I think it's just... This is the full rules of play here. I'll check to verify, but I think that's just it. Maybe another version of this had the 2 independent rule books, but this looks complete. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please click like on it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. And as always, have a good evening.